At night, Jang stands respectfully by the table, hands behind his back. He asks when he'll be allowed to go outside, mentioning it has already been 3 days. Guishin calmly responds, explaining that most of the infiltrators from the recent disturbance have already been taken care of. Specifically, 8 6th tier and 3 7th tier targets have been eliminated. Jang, seated on the couch, looks up at Guishin and asks if he's free to leave now. Guishin stands with arms folded, replies that 1 8th tier enemy is still at large. He adds that the higher-ups are concerned the enemy may send even stronger assassins next. He questions Guishin, asking if he'll always need to be protected like an object just because threats might never stop. He points out his own abilities and background, implying that he's capable of handling danger himself. He remains seated, but suddenly lifts his arm, gripping Nina by the back of her collar and holding her up mid-air. He firmly presents her to Nina as an example, saying he had no choice but to do so. Nina stammers. While trying to explain that she was only trying to protect him, Guishin turns toward the door. He tells the others they can leave and rest. Jang questions when she even got here. Guishin explains that she had been hiding out of fear for a while and didn't dare show herself. Jang looks confused, demanding to know what's going on. Jang refers to Song Changge, the celestial tribe's Mulan Xuan, and asks Guishin if he remembers him. He then leads into a question, hinting that he's about to reveal how he managed to defeat him. He confidently explains his ability, stating that within a 30-meter radius, he can read all information about nearby individuals with perfect clarity. Guishin, seated beside him on the couch, bursts into laughter. He acknowledges Jang's skill and agrees to let him handle the assassin situation himself. He remarks that with recent tensions surrounding overseas affairs, their personnel are indeed stretched thin. With a confident grin, Jang raises his hand and tells Guishin that he'll head out tomorrow to eliminate the target, arguing that offense is better than defense. Guishin warns not to underestimate the enemy. Despite his enthusiasm, Muhenu enters with a cheerful smile, holding a tray and respectfully offering tea to Jang and Guishin. Jang looks surprised and questions if there's yet another person involved. Guishin responds with a quiet sigh. Luo Sando leans forward over a bed, gently smoothing out the sheets with a soft smile as she helps prepare Jiang's room. Ji Xuanyu is apparently roasting a pig for Jiang, using fire-type skills. Adding to the growing list of surprising gestures aimed at him, she shouts toward Jang, accusing him of indulging in luxury like a king. He assigns a new mission to the girls seated before them, Luo Sandao, Muhenu, and Ji Xuanyue, telling them to go hunt down powerful mutated beasts. Guishin declares that their work for the day is done and they can take tomorrow off. The girls respond energetically. Muhenu agrees cheerfully. Luo Sando eagerly declares she'll take the enemy's head, and Ji Xuanyue silently prepares for action. At night, in the snowy mountains southwest of Mach City, cloaked figures gather in secret. One reports grim news. Nearly all spies the World Empire sent into Daxia have been eliminated. Another replies with good news. Daxia has finally allowed Zhang Chen to take action. They note that higher-ups are urging full cooperation to ensure nothing goes wrong. The Holy Knights ride in formation atop black horses. One knight announces that the true priority is preventing internal betrayal. He adds that anyone participating in this mission will be rewarded with a sacred item capable of advancing to the 9th tier. Another complaining that despite their team having 6 members compared to the other nation's 3, the rewards are still distributed equally. Under a cold night sky, Sakura stands calmly with his hands behind his back as armored knights argue nearby. One of them questions the fairness of equal rewards, pointing out that their own captain is only ranked 3rd among assassins. Another retorts that the man before them is Xian Ying from the Flower Garden, an assassin who has held the top rank for over a decade and reached the 8th tier 10 years ago. Kato Sakura, the 7th ranked assassin from the Flower Nation, Dark purple mist swirls around him as he confidently holds up a glowing flute, identifying it as the Highland Divine Artifact, Insect Summon Flute. He argues that without this weapon, none of them could afford to deal with Jiang Chen's millions of shadow beasts. One knight acknowledges the flute's power, but questions where the so-called God of Assassins is, mocking the legend. Another scoffs, accusing Cato's group of exaggeration, and a third mocks that perhaps the famed assassin has grown too old, left with just a name but no courage to match. As the armored knights continue their mockery, one of them suddenly shouts for silence, warning not to disrespect Kato-sama. At that moment, a streak of purple energy slashes across with overwhelming force, cutting heads both riders. One knight stammers in shock, realizing too late. Saito Jinichi, the #1 ranked assassin from the Flower Nation. He wears a black robe and straw hat, drawing his sword with quiet intensity. One concedes that the teams are now evenly matched, and no one should have any objections moving forward. One knight immediately dismounts and kneels before Saito Jinichi, bowing his head in apology and begging for forgiveness, admitting his lack of discipline. Another knight, still on horseback, quickly changes the subject, urging the group to focus on planning and dividing responsibilities for the mission. Park Yunjin from the Ice Nation steps forward, holding a glowing water crystal in her hand. She addresses the group, explaining that 2 assassins have already infiltrated Daxia to lure Jiang Chen to this location. As the 5th-ranked assassin, she declares herself the elemental core of the operation, stating that the crystal she holds is the key to neutralizing Jiang Chen completely. Viewed from above, the group continues their strategic discussion. A knight on horseback acknowledges that while he's not concerned with the elemental source, the plan to lure and suppress Jiang Chen's thunder element, he reminds them that the 9-winged demonic moths will be handled by Kato Sakura. Meanwhile, Park Yunjin listens from a rocky ledge. Another mentions that their clan's elite, Tianzuo, recently challenged Jiang Chen and discovered he also possesses a formidable dark-type ability. His strength should not be underestimated. Xia Erma from the Mist Nation sits cross-legged in deep focus. As the 4th-ranked assassin, he explains that dark-type elements don't naturally exist in this world and must draw power from realms like the Netherworld or Hell. He declares that they specialize in sealing the rifts that channel dark energy, rendering opponents like Jiang Chen unable to use their dark-type skills, including his signature Fang technique. Standing firmly with hands behind his back, Saito Jinichi addresses the group, raising the final 2 strategic concerns. First, he questions how they plan to handle the 9-tier Nether Demon. Second, he notes the proximity of their location to Kunlun Mountain, home to Daxia's divine source, and just 800 miles from the Hellgate entrance. A knight responds, asking how they can ensure their actions won't provoke intervention from high-level powerhouses. The knight raises a glowing white parchment high into the air, shouting the artifact's name. Holy Light Veil. He explains that this sacred relic will completely conceal their presence and suppress all energy fluctuations. One member announces that this is a full-spectrum concealment, completely different from normal spatial hiding techniques. Another explains that they are now existing within a light-based mirrored world, making it fundamentally impossible for any outside power to detect them. A brilliant flash erupts at the center of the group, releasing waves of radiant energy as the Holy Light Veil reaches full activation. One of the operatives shouts the name of the artifact, Holy Light Veil. The group realizes they've been transported into a mirrored dimension. Reflections of themselves shimmer in the distorted blue space. One member exclaims in surprise, while another confirms they've entered the mirror world. A knight explains that high-level beings, bound by divine law, cannot enter this hidden realm. Even if someone as powerful as Jiang Chen arrives, as long as they pull him in, no 9th-tier entity will be able to locate or intervene from the outside. A knight holds up another Holy Light Veil scroll. He explains their countermeasure for the 9-tier Nether Demon. If it appears, they will activate a second veil to temporarily isolate it. Although the effect won't last long, he says 10 seconds is enough. After that, the creature will be destroyed by the laws of heaven for overstepping into this realm. The knight confidently outlines their advantage. Zhang Chen will be stripped of his 9-winged moth, thunder abilities, dark element, and nether demon support, even if he tries to force a breakthrough to the 7th tier using ancient divine blood. They have a surefire kill technique ready, facing Saito Jinichi. Another knight eagerly agrees, saying they're now positioned for a straightforward ambush, just waiting patiently for Zhang Chen to arrive. At Zhang Nan's main base during the day, a woman in a flowing lavender dress walks confidently through the street, holding a little girl's hand. Civilians around them look up in awe. One person excitedly points out that the Calamity Lord is touring Daxia. Another remarks in amazement, noting that even her steps seem to clear toxic mist, high above the city skyline. Our boy stands confidently with one hand in his pocket, dark energy swirling around him like a storm. He remarks that if he's going to lure out all the assassins, he has to make a high-profile appearance. Anything less wouldn't be enough. 2 small children peek over his shoulders, nestled in his coat. One child asks if they're going on a trip, and Jiang replies affirmatively. The child then curiously asks why the other kids on the street all carry backpacks. Jiang explains they're going to school. When asked why they themselves don't go, Jiang is momentarily caught off guard, unable to respond, and trails off. Jiang stands tall on a massive winged shadow beast high above the city. One of the children asks what serious mission they're on. Jiang casually replies that he's out searching for their mother, the woman and the small girl, both smiling sweetly. They're revealed as elite assassins from the Cold Nation. Kim Yuhimi, a 6th-tier specialist in disguise and lethal charm, and Quan Zia, a 7th-tier expert in infiltration and poison. Zhang's massive black shadow beast flies over a crowded cityscape. Observing from above, Zhang realizes that if the assassins plan to target him, doing so within the well-guarded city will be extremely difficult. He decides to seek out quieter areas to give them a chance to act, both to bait them into revealing themselves and to avoid risking harm to innocent civilians in a public confrontation. Kim Yu-him looks up with a confident smirk as she walks through the city crowd. She notes that Zhang Chen is moving publicly without any guards, clearly letting his guard down, making it their perfect opportunity to strike. She recalls that higher-ups have already sent 2 assassins to attempt an ambush, and if they succeed, Cold Nation's influence will soar. But if the attempt fails, she plans to lure Jiang into the trap they've set near Wenbi to finish him off. As Kim Yuhimi speaks smugly in the distance, she casually asks her sister for her thoughts, but suddenly realizes the girl is gone. From above, Quan Zia streaks down at high speed, her red eyes glowing with fury and her ribbon flaring in the wind. She angrily curses Kim for talking too much and acting like a big sister, shouting that she should have been tailing. Zhang stands at the edge of a lush forest, dark mist curling around his feet. He surveys the location and comments that it's a great place for a date. He then shouts toward his hidden pursuers, calling them bugs, telling them to slow down so they don't lose track of him. Kim Yuhime sits on the grass, clutching her injured leg. Quan Zia, panicked and teary-eyed, grabs her sister's leg and cries out for help, shouting that Kim has been bitten by a venomous snake and pleading for someone to save her. Zhang approaches swiftly from the shadows. He mutters sarcastically about the poor acting, mocking how they even bothered to bring in a decorative snake for the performance. Meanwhile, Quan Zia continues pleading for help, calling him Big Brother and urging him to save her sister. Kim Yuhimi gazes up at Jiang with teary eyes. She calls him Young Master. Zhang's thoughts echo in response, recognizing the tactic instantly. Charm spell. Though she appears vulnerable, she's clearly activating an enchantment technique to manipulate him. Zhang leans closer to Kim Yuhimi, clutching his chest and pretending to be love-struck. He declares, loud and theatrical, that her beauty has pierced his heart, and not only will he save her, but he insists on marrying her too. Meanwhile, Quan Zia peeks up from below with a deadpan look. She mutters that Jang's overacting is almost unbearable. Kim Yuhime urgently calls out to Jang, insisting he hold her close so she can absorb the poison. Jang looks hesitant, hand still over his chest from the previous exaggerated act. Behind him, Kwanzaa is furious, her face red with rage as she burns with barely contained fury. Yuhime, however, continues to act grateful, thanking Jang sweetly, while Kwan loudly praises him as a kind person who just saved her sister. With blazing fury in his eyes, he unleashes a devastating blow called Divine Elephant Suppression Fist, slamming down with overwhelming force. Kwanzaa notices the sudden spread of toxic mist and immediately realizes it's a setup. She acknowledges that they've fallen into a trap and urgently decides to switch to the backup plan. She begs for her life and offers to hand over hidden treasures. Jang rapidly closes the distance using his dark ability. She is shocked by his speed, realizing it even surpasses her Thunder Flash. She reflects that while Thunder Flash is better for short bursts, in long-range chases, her speed can't match his sustained pursuit. Our boy questions Kwanzaa mention of treasure and suspects it might be a trap to lure him in. Instead of being cautious, he smirks confidently, thinking it would be even better if it is a trap. He'd prefer to catch all his enemies in one go rather than chase them down individually,